Nothing like a good night of sleep. Do you have like a ring or the watch? Do you keep track of it? How do you do it?
Actually, our bed keeps track of it. So it's a sleep number bed, which is pretty amazing. At first, I was like, wow, I spent a lot of money on a bed. Is it worth it? Now I'm like, oh, it's totally worth it. It's got everything. Yeah.
Tell you your horoscope in the morning?
It does, yeah. It
What
tells me what
did it tell you today?
It said, hey, today's rainy, but you're going to feel great.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Thursday, October 29th. Shawn, how's it going today?
I feel like, a newborn baby today. You know why? I actually got some sleep last night. You know how important it is to get a great night's sleep? Moving and all this stress and everything, I've been not getting very good night's sleep. And last night I made some adjustments, elevated the back, put my mouthpiece in. I wear a mouthpiece, snore guard. If you guys are tired in the morning, you're probably not getting the right oxygen to your brain. Look into a snore guard. I got 2 local dentists that'll take care of you.
Nothing like a good night of sleep. Do you have like a ring or the watch? Do you keep track of it? How do you do it?
Actually, our bed keeps track of it. So it's a sleep number bed, which is pretty amazing. At first, I was like, wow, I spent a lot of money on a bed. Is it worth it? Now I'm like, oh, it's totally worth it. It's got everything. Yeah.
Tell you your horoscope in the morning?
It does, yeah. It tells me what
did it tell you today?
It said, hey, today's rainy, but you're going to feel great.
There you go. Well, guys, in today's video, we're going to talk about 3 topics in the real estate industry. Number 1, the biggest myths about moving to the suburbs. Number 2, are more buyers skipping home inspections? Shocker, yes, they are. And then number 3, some winter amenities that are super cool. Shawn, let's start with the biggest myths about moving to a suburb.
Yeah.
Question, is Arlington a suburb?
It's funny, I think of that, and I think maybe where I live, it's a suburb, right? I think if you're in the Roslyn, Ballston quarter, you're probably not suburb, but Arlington is a city of its own. It's a suburb of Washington, D.C., but I think it's a city of its own, right? So I think if you're within the Roslyn, Ballston quarter, you're in city limits, but maybe the 3 blocks off that I am starts your residential neighborhood, and maybe it's the suburb.
So the way I look at it, if you're from a city and you move to Arlington, Arlington is a suburb. If you're from a suburban area and you move to Arlington, Arlington may have more of a city feel to it. Yeah. But obviously with everything going on in 2020, lots of people are moving from the more city, more downtown areas to suburbs, and maybe there are some myths going on with these suburbs. You were in Lake Barcroft before. That's definitely a suburb.
That's a suburb. That was when you're in Lake Barcroft, you're in Lake Barcroft.
So Realtor.com has an article on the biggest myths of suburbs. Shawn, number 1, real estate is less expensive in the suburbs. And I guess Arlington is the number 1 example of why that's not true.
Absolutely. It's more expensive as you move in closer. But Arlington is, like I said, if you're within that Roslyn-Ballston corridor, your price per square foot naturally goes up. But Arlington is so expensive. I moved from Lake Barcroft, and I had to move up and spend a lot more money just to get here. So, and that's true if every neighborhood's going to have its own value, right? So if you're moving outside of the Beltway, naturally things could go down, but then there's different subdivisions that have more influence or people want to be in more often, and that's going to raise your prices.
Yeah, you were in Lake Barcroft and moving closer to the city, but if you're in D.C. and you're at that like $700,000 price range, like, oh, should we move up and get a condo or should we move out, get a single family home? Well, if you move out and get a single family home, $700,000 single family home inside the Beltway, not going to get you too much. I mean, it'll get you a nice house, but if you have your sights set on something else, you may have to up your budget.
Yeah, absolutely. It really won't get you much.
Number 2, the suburbs are boring, sleepy suburb. There's some congresswoman that called Arlington a sleepy suburb of concrete monotony, or I think those 2 words I might have just made up, but she definitely called Arlington a sleepy suburb.
Well, she's wrong on that. Absolutely. It's not a suburb, and that's what you got to remember. Yeah, it's an outside. The thing about D.C. is there's cities, legit cities, just outside of the D.C. limits, So you can't call these the suburbs. These are legitimate cities. Now, if you're going out into Loudoun County, I would call that the suburbs. As you get out further, yeah, it might get a little boring. You know, there's somebody in our office moved from DC to, what is it, way out. What is it?
Winchester.
Winchester, yeah. I mean, Winchester, you know, unless you're from there, you might be in for some shock, you know, but you're used to those DC things, you're going to move out?
In college, we called Winchester Funchester.
Oh, really?
There are a few parties that went down.
Sure, yeah, you can get away with anything out there.
Yeah, because you're not near anything.
That's great. That's great.
But the suburbs are boring. I think this is all relative.
Yeah.
Because do you know how many people in Shaw, in Columbia Heights, and Petworth just like point their nose up if you live in Arlington? Like Shaw, so vibrant, like Arlington, so boring. It's like, dude, like you live in a row home from like the 1900s. It has like rats everywhere. It's gross.
Yeah.
There's trash everywhere. Like, come to Arlington. We have just as good restaurants, like better schools, a lot safer, cooler things going on.
Yeah, and the thing is, you live in the city limits or in DC. There's a lot of stress that goes with living in a city. There's constant noise, sirens, whatever, and then you move out a little bit, and it's like, wow, this is so peaceful. And you'd be surprised, like living in Lake Barcroft that I just moved from, there's a lot to do there. If you're into nature, you're into kayaking, you get into different things. Me moving from Lake Barcroft to Arlington, I was like, man, I'm going to miss the lake. I feel like I'm going to miss it. And honestly, now that the weather's getting worse, but I don't really miss it. There's so many more things for me here to do that my attention is gone from that.
Myth number three, there's no culture. What was the culture like at Lake Barcroft? People just complaining on Lake Link?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, your local little links. I mean, of course they're complaining about everything. You know, this past year was so much different than other years because of so many more people were out on that lake, and people were working from home. So they were working from home on their pontoon boat, or you know, letting the kids jump off into the water. It was great. The culture was really cool. It was a different vibe. I definitely think it's a good place to live if you're into that kind of thing. It's one of those hidden gems. But I moved for certain reasons, you know.
Myth number 4, the commute will be a nightmare. Now, Arlington is a suburb. What is Ashburn? Is Ashburn an exurb? Or is Ashburn now big enough where it's still a suburb of DC? That pains me to say it.
Ashburn is like a suburb of Reston, which is a suburb of Arlington, which is a suburb. Yeah. So, you know, you're getting 25 miles, 20 miles out. That's, I guess, in some instances still called a suburb. I would call the suburbs of DC more like 8, 9, 10 miles. But the thing is, we've got this beltway that surrounds the city by about 7, 8 miles around. And then once you get outside of that, that's your true suburbs, I believe. And then, once you get out further, but commute will be, once we go back to work, if we ever get back to work the way we were, believe me, I have had people move out from Arlington out to Ashburn, and they're like, I cannot wait to get a yard, a house, a new house to live in. And then 3 years down the road, they're calling me saying, hey, Shawn, I can't stand this commute anymore. It's taking over my whole life. I want to move back, and I want to find an okay house, not an Ashburn house. And that's exactly what they end up doing.
And it'll be real interesting over the next couple of years, I'm now thinking of, if you need to go into the office. Because you can get away with living in Winchester, with living in Ashburn, with living in these outer ring places, if you usually commute downtown to DuPont Circle. But in the next couple of years, when things start to return back to the office, I'm not sure you're still going to love that commute.
No, absolutely. You're going to get sick of it quickly.
All right. Topic number 2. More buyers are skipping home inspections, and they are not liking what they find once they move in. So money.com has an article on buyers skipping home inspections, tales of bats, termites, and asbestos should make you think twice. And in the article, it follows a couple in the New York City area that is in the process of buying a property. Now, it looks like they haven't bought a property, and I always find it interesting that a lot of buyers have suggestions on buying houses when they've never bought a house before.
Yeah.
So this couple looks like in 2 deals they were outbid. The other 2 they backed out after home inspectors found serious defects on the property. So first of all, they were able to do a home inspection. That's what shocks me about that. They're in the Westchester market, just north of New York City, and one of the houses failed inspection. You know, we don't have that. Like, the buyer says whether it passes or fail. Maybe it's different in different jurisdictions. Maybe the inspector says pass or fail, but it looks like there was a termite infestation, and then the other one just had asbestos everywhere.
Yeah, so every jurisdiction is going to be different. For us, a termite inspection is a separate thing, and the seller has to remedy it if there are termites found. But for home inspection, there's so many different things that could come up, and in a crazy buyer's market like we're in, do you want to waive that? Do you know what you're getting into? Especially these older homes, they might look pretty at the beginning, but once you actually dig into it, it could get very serious. So what we always suggest is, if you are in a competitive situation, try to get in there beforehand, before you write the contract, before contracts are due, to try to do some sort of preliminary inspection. You can do what's called like just a walkthrough with an inspector, and they'll check out the pertinent items like your HVAC system, your foundation, just to make sure that the major items are in good working order. That way you can make a better educated decision, because a lot of these people are waiving them entirely, and then they're moving in and they're finding out, holy cow, there are a lot of things wrong. And in the state of Virginia, it's kind of a buyer beware state, right? So we just say, hey, we don't know of anything wrong. Go do your home inspection.
Proper expectations are key. So it says these buyers literally were in tears about their purchase because they had to back out. Nights of binge eating and whatnot. I get it. It's an emotional process. But if you go to that level, maybe take a deep breath and step back. Number two, they recommend, and we recommend, budgeting about 1% of the home's value per year in maintenance costs, whether that's replacing repairs, replacing roofs, or random things that come up. I believe it's called the joys of home ownership.
That's exactly it. You're buying a house. You want to invest in it to make it better, to make it maintain its value. And if you're not doing that, you're going to find yourself living in a hole that needs now $100,000 of repairs because you haven't been doing the proper maintenance.
And the article goes on to say a few different ways you can stay competitive but reduce your risk. Shawn already mentioned getting a pre-inspection. A lot of sellers allow this so that buyers can come in and waive their home inspection when it does come time to put in the offer. Another good way is to shorten the inspection period, where instead of a 10 or a 15-day period, you shorten that down to 3 or a 5-day period. Number 3, have a contractor or home inspector come with you. Have you had any contractors come with you to see properties?
Recently, no, but in the past, yes. You can always have a contractor come if they're free. They're very busy in this area. You can pay the home inspector to come as well.
Number 4, include an appraisal guarantee. So we've used this with success, haven't we?
Absolutely, yeah. Say that if it appraises low, we'll guarantee you X amount of dollars, or we'll waive the entire appraisal. Just depends.
Number 5, offer a lease back or a later closing date. This just, to me, sounds like just ways to strengthen your offer.
Yep.
Number 6, buy a home warranty. I had an agent reach out recently and ask me which home warranty company I recommend. I said, None of them. I don't have a good one. If you have a good one, let me know. I have never had a good experience with a home warranty company.
Yeah, me neither. I don't really suggest buying them. If you think that it's like a safety net, if you're waiving your home inspection, it might be a good safety net. But for the most part, from what I've seen, home warranty companies, they're a warranty policy. They're an insurance policy. So basically, they're trying to hedge their bets that they're not going to have to spend a lot of money to keep you in that house and to keep things going. So if your HVAC system breaks, they're probably going to change a component. If it fully needs replaced, they're probably not going to try to actually do that. And you have to use their people to fix those. So you might be waiting to get those repairs done because you have to wait for their people. And anyways, there's definitely been times when people have bought them and they're like, thank God I bought this thing.
Really?
Right? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But for the most part, don't really buy them much.
And finally, one other tip: if you do plan on waiving the inspection, might be a good idea to pull the property records from the city building department to get an understanding of the renovations on the property.
Yeah.
Now, is that something that the agent does or something that the buyer does?
I mean, both of us could do it. If you're getting into something that was just recently renovated, yeah, you could pull those permits pretty easily to make sure that they have done all the permits, pulled the permits, and had the final inspections done. Otherwise, you're buying something that in the future could be a liability to you. One other thing I'll say about the inspections, and this is important, as far as a home inspector, there's home inspectors out there that he and I call deal killers. They think their job is to destroy a house. And that's really not what they're there for. They're there to educate you about the house. If there's major problems wrong, then tell us about them and how to remedy them, what the cost might be, and how to get through those. Whereas I've had some home inspectors and they love the fact that they're like, ha, 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 I've destroyed this house. These people are in love with this house. Tell them educate them how to fix it. If it's a worrisome problem, tell them it's a worrisome problem, but don't destroy a house just because you think you can.
Little ego boost.
Sorry. Yeah.
For the inspector. Okay, so the third article is on Inman about in-demand cold weather amenities, mostly outdoor amenities. So as we're coming to winter, what are buyers looking for? It goes on to interview a couple agents from around the country, and we have a guest appearance from Billy Buck in the article.
I saw that.
So,
Billy Buck.
Shout out Billy Buck. Look at that mug. That's a
Good
gorgeous
picture.
shot.
Good picture, Billy.
They put the Billy first in the article. So good job, Billy. So first thing Billy says, fires, outdoor fires, fire pit, or going to Home Depot, buying one of those stainless steel fire pits. That's huge these days. And Billy says that buyers want to extend the seasons and essentially create more memories and more experiences, because being cooped up inside all day is no fun, especially if you have little ones. So having an outdoor area where you have a fire pit, much more fun. Shawn, are you getting a fire pit?
At some point, absolutely. I've got to figure out a lot with my yard and make sure that I have the right landscaping stuff. So that's going to come in time. But I think a fire pit is totally the thing to do. My neighbors have a fire pit, and they're out there almost every night, either having dinner out there, having friends over, having a few drinks by the fire. It's
at the new
awesome.
place.
At my new place, my next door neighbors. Yeah.
Next item is a hot tub.
Hot tub.
Are you going to get a hot tub?
I always think, oh man, I would love to have a hot tub. It'd be so cool. I'd use it all the time. Truthfully, I probably would never use that thing, And the funny thing is, as I look out my back door, I see 2 hot tubs. I have never seen one person in those hot tubs, and they look like crap. Right?
Really?
They're just starting to show their age. They're getting mildewy on the. If you can keep that thing nice and it looks awesome, and you're actually going to use it, then yeah. And I think in certain areas it's going to be used more. In certain areas of the country it'll be used more, and certain people tend to use those more. But for the most part, I think that people always feel like gung-ho about it, like, oh, I can't wait to get a hot tub, and then they rarely use them. And so it just sits there, and then it just becomes a liability.
Well, if you're looking to get a hot tub, it's good news that Shawn doesn't want one, because a lot of other people want hot tubs and they're on back order. I have a client who moved to Springfield recently, and he wanted a hot tub, and it took him a very long time. He finally got it, and now he's sending me the snaps.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
It's tubbing season coming up.
Like everything is on back order. I would say if you can make your backyard like a really cool oasis and kind of build that hot tub into it, it will be used. Otherwise, if you're just throwing it in the corner of your yard, it's probably not going to work.
And the article goes on to talk about pools. We've talked about pools and how they've become more popular, but also on the inside of the house, Billy mentions infrastructure. So simply having like a natural gas line that could lead to an outdoor fireplace, things of that nature. There was one agent from, I'm not sure which it was Billy Buck as well. Billy's just taken over this segment. Couldn't find room for the trampoline. Is trampoline?
A trampoline, actually.
Jump and break your neck toy?
Well, I purchased one for my daughter. We brought it from our other house to this house, and actually the funny thing is I was out there rebuilding the trampoline yesterday. I put it up, and let me tell you, trampolines are the biggest pain in the butt to put up, because you know there's a net and everything else that's up, and if you put it sideways one thing and it's wrong, you got to take it all apart and put it all back together. So that's what I was doing yesterday. I noticed I put it up wrong. We do have space for it in the backyard. Yeah, a lot of people are against trampolines because they could cause back problems, things like that. But man, they're fun.
Not a big trampoline guy.
No, I can't do it anymore because of my back, right? I feel like, but these little kids, they're resilient. They'll be fine.
I guess if you're like 7 years old, like there's only
Yeah, I mean, and it's a small one. It's it's like a 1 or 2 person trampoline. So there's some people have these enormous trampolines, and I'm like, that's just a waste of space.
I'm not
right?
like trying out for the circus. Why do I need a trampoline?
No, I got like a small trampoline. It's gonna last a few years, and then we're trashing it.
Yeah. In the Pacific Northwest, buyers are most concerned about practical matters like heating systems. I didn't know this, but a lot of homes in Seattle don't have air conditioning. There's just no AC. It's the number 1 city in the U.S. that has the highest percentage of homes without air conditioning. When you think about it, it makes perfect sense. But on the flip side, they are definitely concerned about their heating system. And finally, maintaining decks and outdoor patios. Maybe oversized RV garage in different areas. We don't have many RVs in this area, but garages are always a benefit, whether it's for cars or for a home gym.
Absolutely. And a bar. I have a buddy that created a bar inside his garage. It was amazing, like seating and tables and everything else. But I want to bring up one other thing is heaters, outdoor heaters. We talked about the outdoor fireplaces. I was thinking about, I have this nice front porch, and I mean, I want to be out there all the time. So I was thinking of buying the outdoor heaters. I have electric outlets right out there, and so I think I'll probably upgrade to that. However, I was reading an article the other day on how scarce they are right now, because if you think about all of the people that are now working from home, of course they want to extend their outside, but all of these commercial restaurants, bars, everybody that they want to keep these people outside, they're investing in these heaters. So now scarcity of heaters as well.
So how far much in back order are they?
I didn't look. I haven't pressed the purchase button yet, but I'm still trying to figure out, do I mount it up here? Do I keep it at the, there's so many different options out there, but I'm definitely going to do it.
Should arrive by, April 1st.
Yeah, April 1st.
Just
perfect
in time
timing.
for spring.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Cool, guys. There you have it. Another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. If you have any questions at all, be sure to drop them in the comment section below. Hit the thumbs up button. We got to start by saying hit the thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. And we appreciate you watching. And until next time, we'll see you then.
Thank you.